Greetings, good people, and welcome back to my channel. It's Wednesday, and that means it's time for yet another unpopular opinion video. In this video, you will hear my thoughts, feelings, and justification for why I believe Jimmy was primarily responsible for the downfall of the Five Heartbeats. Yes, folks, you heard me right, and if you give me just a few minutes of your time, I'll perfectly explain why I feel this way. Now, the movie The Five Heartbeats came out over 30 years ago, and it is considered one of the greatest movies in Black cinematic history. It follows the story of the Five Heartbeats' rise to the top, as well as their fall from grace. A number of fans blame Eddie's drug use, Big Red killing Jimmy, or even JT having an affair with Duck's fiance as the reason for the group's downfall. But I have a more practical explanation that involves the group's manager, Jimmy. Now, in order to understand this, we have to dive deeper into the movie. The movie opens up with Five Heartbeat members Duck, JT, Dresser, Choir Boy, and Eddie performing their hit song at the Battle of the Bands contest. Bobby was an original member of the group, but he got shot prior to the group's performance, and we really don't see much of him for the remainder of the movie. The only tangible explanation that I could offer is that Bobby died from his gunshot wounds, and the group members attended his funeral in one of the deleted scenes in the movie. But in the movie, after the group loses their first Battle of the Bands contest, a man named Jimmy approaches them and asks if he could be their manager. Jimmy is so confident in his ability to harness the potential that the Five Heartbeats have that he pledges to pay the group $100 if they follow his leadership and lose the next Battle of the Bands contest. Well, the group loses the next contest. However, they receive a deal from the club owner, and the Five Heartbeats fully embrace Jimmy as their manager and mentor of sorts. With the help of Sarge, Jimmy whips the Five Heartbeats into shape and becomes a cohesive unit. The group encounters some issues when they present their new look and style at another contest, but they win the contest, which gains the interest of Big Red, the owner of a record label. Now, Big Red and Jimmy had a relationship prior to Jimmy managing the Five Heartbeats, and Jimmy rejects Big Red's offer to sign the group. If you're watching the movie for the first time, then you really don't know why Jimmy would reject Big Red's offer. But after watching the movie, you'll learn that Jimmy was fully aware what Big Red was all about, and Jimmy's wife wanted no parts of it. And after turning down Big Red's offer, Jimmy shops the group's first hit around to record labels, and the only label that was interested in the Five Heartbeat song was a label that only wanted to give their music to white recording artists. This doesn't sit well with the group, and they begin to distrust Jimmy and develop a lack of confidence in themselves. As the saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures, and with that, Jimmy decides to convince the group to sign with Big Red. Keep in mind, Jimmy knew what Big Red was all about, and he knew that it was Big Red's nature to be shady, but he allowed his group to mingle with Big Red as long as his pockets got fatter. After the group signs with Big Red, they eventually find success and become very famous. Everybody seemed to be happy, for a short period of time at least. Eddie getting hooked on drugs is partially Jimmy's fault. Eddie was a stand-up guy in the beginning of the movie. He was drug-free, believed in brotherhood, and was the hardest working member of the group. But after the Five Heartbeats signed with Big Red, Monroe, who was Big Red's assistant, introduced Eddie to drugs. One could argue that if Jimmy wasn't so quick to sign with Big Red, then the group could have found a better record label and Eddie may not have been a drug addict. But once Eddie was on drugs, he began showing up late to rehearsals, missing shows, and he was overall unreliable. Later on in the movie, we see a scene of Jimmy speaking with the Five Heartbeats rival Flash, and Eddie happens to spot the two of them talking. While Eddie was definitely high during the scene, he correctly assumed that Jimmy was talking to Flash about possibly replacing Eddie, which was a scumbag move considering that we never see a scene of Jimmy trying to help or talk to Eddie about his drug habits. Jimmy's decision to try to axe Eddie from the group without even talking to Eddie first led Eddie to go behind Jimmy's back and go to Big Red about his issues. Big Red then tries to make an informed business decision by buying Jimmy out of his contract. Jimmy refuses to leave the group because of his own greed and pride, telling Big Red to his face that he will snitch and go to the police about Big Red's activities if he is forced out of the group. Now come on, Jimmy. You knew Big Red was corrupt before convincing the group to sign with him. You knew that Big Red's people got the most talented member of your group on drugs, and you did nothing to help Eddie. You know Big Red always chooses violence whenever somebody pisses him off, and your plan to keep your job is to blackmail him? Good luck. As many of you know, Jimmy gets his Christmas canceled, causing Eddie to leave the group and Flash to come in as the lead. Now back when Eddie was the group lead, he had absolutely no problem allowing JT to have a chance to shine. But when Flash became the lead, JT felt the need to prove himself and know that he still had it. Such eagerness to prove himself led JT to have an affair with Duck's girl Tanya. Unfortunately, Flash uses the group to launch his own solo career, and Duck leaves the group after finding out JT and Tanya had an affair. At the end of the day, I strongly believe that all of this foolishness could have been avoided if the 5 Heartbeats simply just had a better manager. Well folks, this marks the end of yet another unpopular opinion video, but more will be on the way. Feel free to leave your comments below, and if you're really feeling this video, don't forget to like or subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.